I'm super excited tonight because we're going to be joined by Chieu from Perkbox. Give us a wave, Chieu. There he is, perfect. And also because I love this event because helping founders is our core mission. So getting you guys together, good founders in a room is what we're all about. And to give you just a little bit of background about myself, I was a lawyer by trade until a few years ago. I worked at some corporates and I decided that I wanted to get into the startup world. And I went a bit rogue and I set up a dating app called Clicked. And we're doing really well now. We've got over 100,000 users, approaching Series A, but it wasn't always the case. I certainly made a lot of mistakes in my time. Bad referrals, the development I did wasn't on point. I had to have the app rebuilt. I didn't know where to go to find investments. I didn't know who to talk to when I hit bumps in the road. Everything was really hard work in the first year. But what I realized, and I was fortunate, was that I found a group of founders during my sort of early years, and we sort of spent a lot of time, going for beers, discussing what we were doing, helping each other out, and actually having that support network for other founders was super, super helpful. So this is where our sort of main mission comes from, that founders helping founders, and I think this is really sort of the core of what we do. In terms of what the Entrepreneurs Collective does, I know some of you are members and some of you have come across us before, but in summary, we want to help your startup to succeed. So anything we can do, any pain point that you have, we will try and help you with that. So of course we have these events, and we have 15 in the next 2 months, and these are all workshops and value add events where we can help either with pitch events to help you raise investment, or workshops to help you do better PR or better development or whatever it may be. We also help in other ways. So we have a number of credit schemes, everything from AWS, IBM, Stripe, all these types of credits, HubSpot. So I think we're approaching now 30 or 40 partnership credits. Some are free, some of them are half price or reduced price, but all with the aim of helping you reduce your burn rate. And if we don't have them and you're spending money, come to us and we'll go negotiate a deal for you. As well as that, we have some great mentors. We also help with fundraising. We'll give you feedback on your decks. We'll, help introduce you to angels who will give feedback. These are all sort of things that we do at various levels. But enough about EC. If that's of interest, then there's our LinkedIn is in the chat, or will be very shortly. Follow us on there, or come and speak to one of the guys if you want to get involved. We are there to help, and we want quality founders to come join us, because the more of us that are together, and the stronger we are, the better we can negotiate these deals, and the more chance that we can help each other to succeed. So now we sort of launched this event because I'm really keen to, I really believe in founders helping founders. I think someone who has, who is going, no one knows the pain points and the struggles and the work and effort and the emotional toll of putting yourself on the line like another founder. And I'm very fortunate to count myself as someone who has has benefited from Chieu's support and help over the last couple of years, and his insights have really sort of helped me to sort of progress as a founder. Which is why I was delighted to sort of invite him here to talk to you guys. For those of you, give you a bit of background on Chieu. We can now call you a serial entrepreneur, but Chieu is the founder of, you've heard of, Perkbox, at the cutting edge of employee wellness, at the forefront of making the workplace a better place for people to not only live and work, but to prosper and to improve their health and well-being. A groundbreaking platform. They've raised over 22 million. The last valuation was 100 million plus, and they have over 150 employees. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Chieu's journey. Chieu has now launched his second company, Mintago, which is an employee financial well-being platform, and we will hear a bit more about that as well shortly. But first and foremost, Chieu, I would love you to talk a little bit to the guys about your, I guess, your story, how you got into startups, and how you managed to achieve a little bit of your journey on achieving success with Perkbox.
Great. Well, thanks, Mike. Great presentation. I love what you've done with EC. So yeah, it's great to see. As an entrepreneur, I think Mike exhibits the tenacity and the resourcefulness more so than most people I've met in my career. So well done, Mike. Just to kick off, thanks for having me. I've been very fortunate in my career to benefit from other founders giving me advice along the way. And the reason why I'm here tonight is to pay it back or pay it forward. I think we owe it to each other to help each other. That's how we succeed. That's my view of life. I started my career in sort of the entrepreneurial kind of space later in life. I was 32 when I started Perkbox. But I spent the first 10 years of my career as a marketer. I was trained as a marketer, but I was really fortunate to work for companies like Amazon, Yahoo, Microsoft, MSN. That was a decade, and it went and gone like that. Before I was in my 30s. And I looked back and I realized towards the end of my 3 years at Microsoft, like, I'm going to get institutionalized unless I get out of here. And so they offered me voluntary redundancy, and I was like, oh man, this is my ticket out of here. It was like six months of severance, and I was like the first guy to say, hey, look, I'll take that, thank you very much. And that was 2010. And so I told my wife, like, I have some money here, what do we do with it? It's like, well, just don't spend it all at once, figure out what you want to do. And I said, okay, right, I want to start a business. And that was my journey. And I looked for a co-founder, and that was important to me because I was totally new to this. I had the desire and the ambition, but I had no idea what we were doing. So when we launched it in 2010, we raised about 350,000. The idea was, actually, it wasn't called Perkbox at that time. It was called Huddlebuy, which is a Groupon for business, so the B2B version of Groupon. And at that time, you probably remember, Groupon was all the rage, at least that business model. So that's how we started. We had a good CV with all these big brands, but we had no clue how to do it. And so that was the beginning. So after 3 months, we realized the business model that we sold to our investors didn't work. Like, it was crazy. And people were coming back to us and say, well, that's not what we put the money in for. Like, we want the money back. And we had to look at each other and say, well, okay, what do we do? And so we said, we're not giving the money back. We'll just keep going. And it was a tough decision. And so we pivoted. So we went from a Groupon model to a closed community of selling discounts to businesses. And so what we had was actually a really good platform, but we didn't have the users. So we looked around and realized that we had opportunities in the market. And one was with WorldPay. And WorldPay was looking for a loyalty platform. They had about 200,000 SMEs, didn't have a platform like ours because we were really good at negotiating good deals for business owners. And so that's what happened. We white labeled, they white labeled our platform. And so the WorldPay Benefits Club was really what got us on the map. And from there, we started growing. And obviously it was a licensing fee, so multi-year, multi-million pounds. So we thought that was our ticket out of here. It would be a affiliate, so a sort of a discount site for enterprise. We never found another. In hindsight, we never found another WorldPay. It was a lucky encounter, if you will. But what did happen was the users of the platform, the business owners, were looking at our benefits and our perks, and we had personal discounts as well. And they were asking for extra licenses to give to their staff because they felt like, well, this is good for me, but actually I want to use that to motivate my staff. And so that was a very interesting moment for us because we realized that, well, you have to listen to your customers. They're asking for this. So what happened quickly was we had to break apart the product slightly, and then we said, okay, right, let's let's have a section for employees, and let's call it Huddle by Perks. Started hiring people, started sort of selling licenses to these employers. And one of my salesperson came back to me one day and said, Chieu, I love the ambition, love the drive, love the fact that we're moving so quickly, but this name, it's so long and too many syllables, people have no idea what we're doing. We need to take a look and really understand what we are doing as a company. And then I said, I'll come back to you. And then we realized that we have something special here. So from that point, we started to look into rebranding. And so in 2015, we rebranded to Perkbox. And we looked at this from a very different perspective. So our proposition really took root. And so from then on, our sort of our ability to acquire deals and drive traffic to our site through SME marketing on Facebook. So my background in marketing was really helpful. So we were one of the biggest advertisers on Facebook. We converted a B2C platform into a B2B lead gen platform. And so overnight, we were getting thousands of SME per month, spending over 200,000-300,000 pounds of media per month on Facebook. And that became the engine of growth for Perkbox. And we had a great brand. And so that's really where we took off. And in hindsight, it was a combination of a lot of different things in terms of trial and error, resourcefulness, resilience, and connecting all the dots. Hopefully we got the proposition to work, and that's how we really took off. And we splintered off, and then the WorldPay business over time shrunk actually, and so we just went ahead with the employee engagement and employee perks business. That's where it is now. So it wasn't a straight line success story, but we had to pivot a few times and took the opportunities as they came.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and I've got a few questions for Chieu now, and then I'm going to open it up to the floor for you guys. So if you have any questions that come up that you think of, pop them into the chat, and then I will pick some of them. And but I will be asking you guys to ask the questions to Chieu yourselves, so be prepared to talk as well. So as you mentioned, there's a few pivots and along the way, and I know that for a lot of our founders, this has been a really, really tough year. I have a dating app. People stop paying for dating apps when there's lockdown because you can't go on dates. So I know we've had our sort of ups and downs this year. But on the other hand, when lockdown comes down, it goes really quickly. So it's been a crazy year for us, and I know for a lot of others as well. There's been a lot to wrap our heads around. But I'd love to hear from you. You mentioned there was quite a few pivots. There's that 5-year period before you rebranded to Perkbox. That's quite a long time, and I guess you must have encountered your fair share of tough times. And so what are some of the toughest things that you had to do, and how did you have the strength to continue going through these periods? And can you give us any advice on how we get through these tough parts?
Yeah, sure. That's a very good question. I think to be an entrepreneur, it's a very humbling experience. At least in my experience, I went from big, stable, secure jobs with multinational to making and fighting for every penny, and not knowing when the next one is going to be around, is going to get there. Pivoting it's the hardest thing about that is actually managing the team, because it's not a solo journey, right? You're taking a group of people with you. What are their expectations? Are they willing to pivot with you? Are they going to leave? What did you tell them? What are they signing up for? So building a strong culture is important. So there's a good quote that says when you build a startup in the beginning, you need missionaries, not mercenaries. Guys and girls that go out and believe in you and believe in the journey, and you desensitize them as much as you can to the downsides of that. And then you says, look at the upside. And today we had one of my sales guys would busting the butt to get one lead to convert, and they said no. And it's like, well, look, don't worry, keep going, keep going. So it's the more you put in, the more you get out. So focus on the bottom line principles. Like, am I making the right decisions? Am I moving along in the right way? Celebrate successes, because it's about making the right sort of smart decision, but also managing your psychology, the emotions. Like, will this cloud your judgment because you need a break, or your team needs a break. So you almost have to fight two battles, right? The intellectual battle and then the emotional battle. That's how I see it. And then over time, hopefully you find the right path, and that's how success normally happens.
Yeah, no, good advice there. Good advice. And talking about that sort of, I guess that emotional level, and it can be as a founder, as a sort of a real roller coaster. And how do you sort of like steel yourself or get past those sort of bad news moments? Do you have any tips for us to sort of to get past those?
Yeah, everyone has a different management style, I have to say. So my management style is, I'm a very kind of very people first. I kind of let my guard down, and people like the fact that I am unsure sometimes, that I'm transparent with my decision making. But the one thing I always have to display is optimism, right? You always want to see that the future is brighter than what it is now. And that's really the optimism. The hope is really what you can be uncertain, you can be afraid, you can be all these emotions, but don't lose that optimism, because if there's nothing to look forward to, you lose your team. I think that's probably the only thing. So we see our fair share of crap coming through all the time, and once you get through that 5 years, it's actually, in a way, it was the best time of my life, but it's also the worst time of my life, because I've been in such low moments that I've never experienced in my career before. The fact that you have to, I wasn't taking salary the first 2 years, and that 5 month of, of money I got from Microsoft didn't stretch very far. I got really good at using 0% credit cards, juggling debt. It was hard, but then again, it's all in. I can always find another job. It's a bet on yourself, but also you have to be a really good leader as well. That's the key thing. You can't do it all yourself, and I think that's really the thing. That get really good people around you, and also if they're not good, you have to make that call.
Yeah, and on that note, when you were in those moments of juggling credit cards and things like that, and you said you have to back yourself, did you always know, like, was it always in your gut, you're like, this is going to happen, or I'm sure there was doubts, but was it always like it will happen eventually, or how did you feel about it?
No, I was really honest with myself. So I know, I think all I knew was we had a lot of different things going on, meaning we were very opportunistic. We were trying so many different things to get it to work. The different positioning, the different marketing approaches, different ways to generate leads, and growing, hiring the right people. There was never like, you want to have a sense of confidence, but I think the key thing is you need to have a very healthy dose of fear and uncertainty, kind of make balance out these decisions that you make. I was never ever 100% sure. I think that's sort of my upbringing. You just have to be a bit paranoid. And even now, you've seen big companies just going under, and it's because of COVID. Who would have thought, right? So you can never be too sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people obviously, who would have predicted COVID, I think, at the start of the year, and to have whole sectors pretty much wiped off the table, hospitality, and it's hit a lot of startups and travel as well. So no one, I don't think anyone really saw that one come in. I guess on the sort of looking at we have, everyone in this room is a founder. You've sort of you've gone from the corporate life, and you've made the transition to founder to successful founder. I'd love to hear your 3 tips that you could have for our founders, and anything from it could be efficiency tips or mental, or whatever what it is. I'd love to hear your thoughts on guidance.
Yeah. So first thing is, it's all about the money, raising money, managing cash flow, not spending more than you need. testing and getting away with discount. Obviously, EC has a great selection of discounts. Use that. You got to be on the lookout to just extend your runway. That's what keeps you alive. Everything else, whoever tells you anything else, they're lying to you if money is not on the top of the list. Okay, it keeps the lights on. And then the second thing, I'd say, really focus on your proposition. And that connects to the money. Like, are you really getting good buyers? Are they just not early adopters? Are they, are they real people that or clients or prospects that you can convert to a client at scale? Because those are the things that investors start digging into, because you can get a really big deal and they'll say, okay, just because you have the revenue number, what are the unit economics? What are the metrics behind it? Are they the right clients for you? So make sure, but that's a result of having the right proposition. Are you attracting the right buyers? And I had to learn the hard way with Perkbox, but also with Mintago, that you can make money by hook or by crook. You can get some money to keep you afloat, but for you to get investments, they'll start asking the harder questions, like, are these the right types of buyers? Are they going to churn after a year, right? Because you gave them a really good deal first year, and these things like that. So second is the proposition. And third is just make sure you surround yourselves with a great team. Nothing beats having people who are smarter than you. And that's really the kind of humble style of leadership that I always try to promote. So like, I defer to you and always speak last. And we have these kinds of meetings, especially when we have really complex debates and whatever, speak last. Because if you're the founder, you'll have your chance to speak. But what you don't want is to inhibit others from speaking their mind. When things get really rough, some maybe the more junior people or whatever, they may not speak. So I think and I've learned by speaking last and allowing others to kind of thrive in sort of what we call psychological safety. And they can be themselves and explore their faults, but also their strengths in an open environment. And that really fosters a very, I think, a resilient team. So when you have a startup, you're going to have bumps along the way. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have dead ends. And how you come out of that is really a key component of success, I find.
Yeah. I think some great tips there, and I think I completely agree. The bottom line is, if you don't have, if you haven't got any money, then nothing's happening. So, so I've got one last question for you, and then we are going to move it across to open it up to the audience and have some questions from them. And then we have the roundtable section of the part where you founders will talk to each other, and we'll also have sort of we'll be able to help each other. So, Perkbox, great success, but not content with one successful company, you've come back for a second one, right? So tell us a little bit more about Mintago. What is that about? What are you up to? Also, how's it been second time round? What's your experience? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for that. Right. So second business, not any easier, I have to say. It's very different.
Why would you do this to yourself again? We're all thinking, one will do, and then sit back.
Listen, I do get those questions. So, hey, look, Perkbox so successful, why don't we just wait for it to exit, and you're set for life? And I think that's a valid point. And the thing is, I have a great team there. We have an amazing CEO who used to be the COO. And I've been working for 5 years prior to that. So, it's about letting go at the right time. And also within the marketing function, that was where I was leading, I hired people smarter than me. And that was my biggest kind of career advice: find people who are genuinely better at what than you. And then you feel a lot better in terms of stepping away. But with Mintago, it's about financial well-being. So we just started. We're a financial well-being platform that looks to optimize pensions for pensions program for the employer and as well as an employee. And we start with pensions, but we actually help employees across all their financial needs, but specifically with employers. And actually, we have a really good offer for everyone here. That we can help you switch to what we call a salary sacrifice pension plan, which can save you about £500 per employee per year in taxes. And so this is one of the most powerful things that a lot of people don't know. It's HMRC sort of approved. And that's something that we can offer for free for everyone on the call today. So feel free to reach out to me. But basically, we're a financial wellbeing platform. We sell into the employer, but we could deduct that through the pension optimization program that we have. And but for the employee, we're really helping them using open banking, connect their accounts, put them on these financial journeys that can help them take control of their financial life. And so these journeys are built on key things like retirement, buying a house, things that are important to people, so they actually know what to do. So it's a combination of education, links out to tools, products. So it's basically simplifying complex world of finance into journeys. Very excited about what we're doing there. It's actually very disruptive because we're also unbiased. So we're not trying to sell a product per se. We have a network of specialists, so we can go into a company and not just be a pension provider or a salary advance provider. We don't need to be any of that. What we want to be is actually the gatekeeper. We want to connect with you, the employer, and your employees, and from there we can create all the right journeys so people can actually get to where they need to go financially.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. It sounds too good to be true. So you're actually saying, so if I have a pension, you can save me money and give my employees benefits.
Yeah, it is that crazy. It came to me. So like, it's another pivoting story, right? So that's not what we had about 18 months ago. And so through market research and what people are asking for is that like most companies don't have budgets for a well-being program, especially nowadays, right? And so we went in and said, what are the problem, the pain points, what can we do to help companies? And the biggest pain point is saving money. And so you look at the expenses of most companies, the biggest expense is salary. And then you dig a bit deeper. So how do you pay? What does that look like? Well, big contribution to salary is pensions. And so how do you actually optimize the pensions? And realize that there's a government scheme that we work with specialists to deploy, and it averages out about £500 in tax savings. So it's one of those things that when you unlock, you can actually work with other partners as well. So if you have a network of SMEs, we could potentially partner with you to unlock. So it's what I'm discovering is another pivot potentially happening. But this pivot allows us to really help companies save even more through the biggest expense they have, which is salaries.
Yeah. And in terms of this time around, you said sort of it's still the same, but presumably some things like the fundraising side and things like that, given that you've got one company under your belt, that side of things, I presume is easier. So what are the bits that haven't changed? Is it still the learning about the company and the market, or I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about it.
So yeah, look, reputation is important. Obviously, when you're very, we had to start from ground zero. I'll put a bit of my money in there as well. So I was fortunate I had a secondary at Perkbox, but investors, back the idea, the team, they will open. My background with Perkbox helps open doors, but I spoke to at least 30 to 40 VCs before I got 3. So it's not like it's easy, and it's not like they'll just throw money at you. It's a very competitive space, so we have to just do the groundwork. And obviously, I'm happy to offer tips if you guys have specific questions about fundraising. More than happy to tell you, share with you what I've been through. It's not easy. It's not what you can't just replicate what I've done before. And I think same for fundraising, same for the business model. The go-to-market strategy different, the product is different. But for me, the reason why I do it is it's rewarding. I really love building new things and being part of the community. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's a perfect moment to move across to the questions. And I'm going to pick one which is relevant to what we've just been speaking about. So Khalid Suhail has a question about pitching for investment. Khalid, can we unmute Khalid and let him have a...
Yeah. Hi, Chieu. Yeah, great stuff. Excellent work. Whatever you've done, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm actually working on a startup right now, so we're sort of at an early stage, sort of building things up in terms of website and getting the platform done and everything. So just wanted to find out, when is the best time to sort of pitch for the investment? Now I know that you could obviously do it before the launch. And you can also do it once you launch, and there's some sort of attraction where you sort of build up your customer base and go back to the investments with sort of solid things which is sort of going to grow your company. But so I just wanted to find out when is the best time to do it? Is it pre or post? Now, presumably, obviously, if you do it post the launch, it's probably better because you can show better data. But if you obviously are struggling with the money before, then what are the things that you need to look for if you want to basically get some investments done before the launch?
Yeah, good question. So if you're raising a pre-seed and you're looking, say, less than £500,000, a lot of these investors are very open to not having any traction. You're pre-revenue, right? Whether you have a product or anything else doesn't really matter. You're pre-revenue, and so that's the classification, right? And it's much better. So my tip is it's much better to do pre-revenue fundraising because they're not going to scrutinize the numbers because you have no numbers. Your metrics are fine, right? But so don't try to create numbers when you really don't have it, because then they'll hold you accountable to the numbers, and that's a different kettle of fish altogether. So we say, oh, we've launched, okay, well, we're getting customers, so they'll start asking questions down that path, and that's not good, because if you're not sure about that path, don't dangle that carrot. So say, hey, we're pre-revenue. What you definitely need is a good team, because unless you are the team, so that's really the value. So you're betting on the team. So make sure you have a top-notch team, advisors, non-execs. You don't necessarily need non-exec. We didn't have one, but advisors, just call them advisors, right? Surround yourself with experts. And so that's really what they're gonna look at. And secondly, the proposition. That is the word that you should really nail. Proposition, the combination of the product, how you're gonna go to market, who are the potential buyers, have you done the research, and how big is it, right? And how it all kind of stacks together. If you're good at marketing and testing and getting feedback from potential buyers, even better. That this reduces the risk in you. But so that's how we raised for Perkbox, but also for Mintago. We raised on pre-revenue basis, and but the thing is, the other thing about talking to investors, if you have a list of of investors, and if you know how to classify them, go for the ones you think are just not big funds, but they're very friendly to kind of practice your pitch. You don't want to blow your your pitch on something that you really want to impress. So kind of thing. So it's and you get better at it, right? And the pitch is the thing that you need to really get good at, and also get honest feedback from people that listen to the pitch. And I think the VCs are the worst people to give honest feedback, and that's one of the things that really bugged me, because it took me a while to realize after like 10 pitches that we weren't saying the right things, but no one the first 10 wouldn't say it, but when we changed it, the next 10 sounded was a lot more receptive. So have friendly people that can give you honest criticism, because you need that.
Thanks, Chieu, and I totally agree. Actually, one of the services that we set up for EC is when you've got your deck ready, we'll do like an internal review and give you some feedback on some pointers on what we think, but also we'll send it to 3 angels that are sort of we think are appropriate to your sector, and just ask them, like, we're not asking them for investment, we're just asking them to basically critique like from actual investors. And I think that's one of the best things you can do before you go out to investment, is get some genuine investors who are not like there in front of you ready to invest, just to tell you. It sort of breaks my heart when sometimes you see like some of the pitch decks that coming through, and there's some huge errors in them, but the founder is going out and taking 50-60 meetings, and it's like, get that feedback first and then go do your meetings. So yeah, completely agree. Thanks, Chieu, and great question. Thanks, Khalid. Marco Scotti has a question as well. Marco, are you there? We'll unmute you.
Good evening, everyone. And Chieu, thank you very much for sharing your amazing story. I was really interested about Perkbox. You mentioned there was a moment where you got in touch with Facebook and started offering your product linked to it, if I'm not wrong. And it looks like that was the pivotal moment in your company when you actually got traction and really took off. Could you explain in a little bit more details, how did you spot the opportunity? How did you get in touch with them? And yeah, how did you share this opportunity with your customers?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So prior to launching Perkbox, so the first 5 years, one of the pivot was we were doing as a Groupon for Business, we were actually running a lot of marketing campaigns for like Zipcar, Pitney Bowes. These are all B2B brands looking to connect with our business users. And so we got really good at lead generation as an agency, right? So they'll give us an ad, we'll put that on Facebook, tweak it. Izetto, we launched Izetto in the UK as well, made a few $100,000 off of that, but it was an agency job. And so that's where we perfected that sort of approach. And when we launched Perkbox, it wasn't a total new learning experience. It was actually repurposing the experience that we had before. So even though I said we pivoted, we actually took a lot of the learnings and moved it across. And that was one of the things that when you pivot, what you don't want is to have a wholesale fresh start. That's a lot of wastage. So we didn't, try to waste a lot, but it was absolutely a pivotal moment because there was no competition, so the proposition really came quite clear to us. Like employee perks and benefits in 2015 didn't exist for SMEs. It existed for the corporates. And the brand speaking to employees, making them smile every Friday with Friday freebies and that kind of fun Perkbox vibe didn't exist. But we thought it should exist because we're selling happiness. We're not selling perks, we're selling happiness, office engagement, the culture. And so when you see that and you realize that Facebook is a place where people actually go to kind of have their downtime and they're in the mood for happy things, well, align that with an ad that speaks to this. We had lollies and cakes and all these people were saying we were trying to sell diabetes as well. It got so bad, right? We were just spamming, got so big. But the fact is we knew what we were trying to do, connecting with people on an emotional level on the right platform and using Facebook lookalike and all the right targeting and really focusing on the one message: give your employees free perks. Okay, tag your boss if you want Perkbox. That went social. So now they're all nagging their boss, and they have the bottoms up approach of how do you get the whole sort of toddler approach, right? It's like the bottom aisle toddler approach. You get the parents to buy it. Same kind of concept. So if employees want it enough, the employees would buy it. So these are all done through trial and error, and that's sort of a sum of one way to approach the market, right? If you're doing B2B2C, it's different for everyone. With Mintago, I have nothing like that, right? So now we have to kind of go through the pension optimization, customizing it, really creating value, like tangible ROI revenue before we can go into the market, and then we deploy the well-being solution after that. You have to learn. I think there's no one size fits all, and I think the key thing is to have the right people to help you learn and test where possible. Like if you get part-time marketers who are good at Facebook, do that.
Great. And we have quite a few questions coming in on the investment side. So let's see, let's pick one of them. Sorry, guys, there's a few similar questions on investment. So I'll go for Jules. Can we unmute Jules if you can ask your question?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Thanks, Chieu. Great to hear about your journey. You mentioned in answering one of the other questions earlier that start with people further down the list, friendly people, practice your pitch with them. And I was just curious in terms of building up that list. So, day one of seeking investment, and you go, right, where do I start, and how do you build that list? And then when you're approaching people, are there any kind of particular tips or networking, building up warm contacts that you'd recommend, or equally any kind of big no-nos that you shouldn't do that will kind of stop you at stage one?
Good question. So the easiest path for us is to look at themes, investment themes, so funds that invest within your sector, right? That's clear, right? So, and you start with that and really align your site, your model, your website, everything kind of to speak to that theme quite clearly. So we were, so with Mintago, we're fintech, but we're also financial well-being, but we're more financial well-being than fintech. So we're taking a spin on that. We're using technology to enable financial well-being. So the places that we were talking to, so we were straddling on both sides. So one of our funds were actually a fintech fund. The other one is actually a well-being fund. But they saw how the synergy worked. So pick the right kind of funds that speaks to you. But when you're speaking to them, and the thing that I've learned is that VCs, if you approach them nicely and in the right way, they're very friendly. They can recommend you, right? They can say and to others, and that's the kind of things you should do is ask. Say, hey, look, if this is not right for you, do you have others in your network that you can refer me to? And I think about half of the VCs we spoke to were referrals from other VCs. That's how it worked. It was surprising because I didn't have a Rolodex, even though, because it was 10 years ago since I last fundraised, right? So, and it was a different, time. But but ask around. So in summary, pick the right kind of space and start those conversations early. Talk to other entrepreneurs, like I said, happy to reach out. I've made a lot of contacts in the VC space. If you have a similar type of space that I'm in, maybe you can reach out to me, talk to other founders in similar space. And, it's all about networking, and it's a numbers game. It literally is numbers game, but perfect your pitch, and go out. And there's no secret way of doing things apart from just being very organized, and really keep at it, because it's hard. It's selling 24/7, and makes you kind of really believe in yourself or not, right? Because they'll force every bit of truth out of you until you
make it. Does that work?
There's nothing left to hide, basically.
Yeah. Well, some good news on that front. We have spent the last sort of 14 months since we launched trying to make friends with as many VCs as possible. So we've been inviting like 2 or 3 to every pitch event that we do. We've approached probably about over 80 now, I think it is at last count, that are willing to accept decks from us. Now there's no guarantees, and if your deck's shit, it's shit. It's not gonna, you're not gonna get investment, but they will take a look at it, and we do have name contacts in most of those guys. I'll be honest, the main reason I was doing it is because I need to do a fundraise as well, but also for all of you guys as well. But we have some of those contacts. So if you ever want an intro, member or not, always feel free to reach out. Great stuff. Now there's been a couple of questions coming in relation to how you managed to approach both the sort of the business, the SMEs, and also in terms of how you approached also WorldPay. So let me see. So I'll let you just answer that question, because there's a couple of others. But how did you go about getting this big deal with WorldPay? Why would you get into business with a little startup like yourself?
Sure. Well, the approach is very, very different. So if you're an SME, in the SME business, as in selling to SMEs, your DNA, the makeup of your company is very different from like corporate or enterprise even, right? To be totally honest, it was through sheer luck. I can admit that we had a sophisticated system back then. This was 2013. We knew some contacts. They desperately needed a platform. We literally had a lot of discounts on the platform in 2013, and we tried our very best to look big and sophisticated. And we printed out really good collateral, had little cards, and we had to have a CD case holder. We did everything we can to look professional. And there was a 6-month trial. So there was we had to kind of give that. So the money wasn't like, okay, you knock on the door, they'll give you the check. There was a trial period. So that's the one way to approach enterprises, to go through a trial. And that's what you pitch for. You pitch for a trial. You don't pitch for the big deal, right? And the big deal was multi-million, multi-year. But the trial was maybe a few tens of thousands just to get it off the ground with a select group of people, low risk on their side. But also if you have an internal champion, that's great as well. So somehow you got to find these companies that, and I'm not good at that. So ultimately, I'm probably not the best guy to talk about how to win enterprise deals. It's not in sort of my experience. We never found a second WorldPay, to be totally honest, and that's probably one reason why. We tried, we just didn't have it, and it would have been a global deal as well, because some of these are in other markets, and some of these enterprise companies are designed. Have that kind of requirement. We didn't have any of that. We wanted to get enough money, and that was our sort of Series A, basically, to fund Perkbox, which was employee engagement. It wasn't it wasn't like a nectar for business, like this discount loyalty program that we thought we were going to be in. For a bit, we thought we were in that space, but we weren't. So to answer your question, SME, you just it's about creating the right machine and discipline that works. and thinks about that all the time. You can't mix and match SME marketing and sales versus corporate marketing and sales. It's hard. Over time you can. So Perkbox now, we actually have two different teams. We have the sort of the SME team and the corporate team. But then again, you know, you have 150 employees there.
Yeah, great advice, great advice. And I think at this point, we're gonna call it a day on the questions. We originally scheduled 30 minutes for this, so we've gone 15 minutes over already. But frankly, it was super interesting and useful. So I didn't want to call it an end. So I hope you guys don't mind me delaying it. We're going to run over our original schedule, but I think it was very well worth it. So it would be great to, if you have any final words, Chieu, or advice for the guys, and if anyone wants to get in touch with you in relation to either the Mintago or maybe advice or whatever way, how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, get me on LinkedIn. And so, you know, definitely for Mintago, we're offering a great program to help you save money. So it's actually a no-brainer for you to reach out to us. That's number one. Two, I'm selective, but I do have time. I have to be a NED where possible and where relevant. So feel free, if you feel like I am a suitable sort of mentor NED for you, reach out. But like I said, no promises. But generally speaking, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to help. You have connections, look at my LinkedIn connections. If you want intros, I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, I have to be honest. You know, Chieu was judging one of the pitch competitions that I went to. I sort of tracked him down afterwards, and he was super helpful for me. And then I think I didn't see him for a little while, and then I think next time I saw you in a coffee shop, and I was lucky enough that you were a couple of buildings away. So I pounced on you in a coffee shop and asked you for advice, which you were totally enough to off, and you give me some great advice. So he definitely is a great one for that. But I just want to say thank you. You know, it's amazing to have you here. Really, you know, what your journey is, you know, an inspiration to all of us who have, you know, here sort of not quite making it, but you know, to see that through hard work and smart decisions that you can get there. And so thank you for sparing the time. The great news is that you will be staying for us for the next phase, which is the Founders Roundtable. Which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So thanks, Chieu. But before that, you know, we can't run these events without our sponsors. So we're going to introduce you to one of our startup friends and partners, Bill Cogan of 7 Legal. Can you tell us why you are the #1 startup law firm in the UK? That's what I'm going to call you anyway. Bill is there, I hope.
I am.
Oh,
yes.
There we go.
Sorry, I wasn't allowed to unmute there for a second. Thanks a million, Michael and Chieu, for such a fascinating conversation. You know, actually, I think you were one of the first events that I attended as an attendee of Entrepreneurs Collective, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, I need to get involved in this organization. I think there's just so much value add, you know, at all the events, and hence why we're a sponsor. So we are a startup ourselves. I'm the founder of 7 Legal. We started up last March. We've scaled up fairly quickly to a team of 12 doing corporate, commercial, and employment work. And you know, we're set up really to, I guess I set up 7 Legal because I was sick of hearing people giving out about lawyers and legal services and all the problems associated with it. So what I thought about how we can solve those problems, what I said was, look, people want to access, you know, top legal talent, but without the overheads and fees that they're effectively paying for. So what we've done is we've taken out lawyers from ex-Magic Silver Circle law firms, ripped out the cost base, put them into a lean infrastructure, and pass that value on to our clients. So we do that by, you know, providing fixed fees, retainers, and, you know, just generally having grown-up conversations with our clients about, you know, what stage they are, what they can afford, and where they should prioritize spending their cash, which our view is if you're growing a company, don't spend on legal fees, get it into products, get it into marketing, get it into growing your business. I know that from myself, from growing 7 Legal, you want to be spending your money where you're going to see that investment ROI. And as a result, we take a view that we're here for the journey. I've been advising companies, tech companies for specifically for about 6 years. I've been a lawyer for over 10. And we've got clients that I've been with since they raised their first 100K. They're now raising 5, 6, up to 10 million. And we take the view that we're here for that entire journey right through to exit. So the problems we're solving, like I said, we've kind of been through them already. What do people give out about lawyers and law firms? A lot of the time that larger law firms aren't that interested in smaller companies. It's mainly because their business model doesn't allow them to do the work profitably. Our business model does, which is great. You also get access to senior lawyers, so we can be efficient with our time, and we've been around the block. We know what we're doing. And really, I think the main differentiator is we're very stage specific. So we seed Series B, that's our space. We don't go very early. It's really typically when you've kind of got your first institutional investor on the other side that you call us up. So we help you with that round. We, as I said, on certain fees, we try to give fixed fees wherever possible, and our hourly rates are much lower than typical city law firms. So it'd be 350 plus VAT, just as a reference point. So what do we do for you guys? And what do we do for our clients? As Chieu said earlier, we get the money, the most important thing. We help execute on funding rounds. And we work with companies as they exit as well. So that's getting cash into your company and into your pockets. When you've got that funding and you're spending cash, we help with commercial contracts and then hiring as well. We really look at how you're hiring, employee incentive schemes, and we've also got a senior HR advisor in the team who can assist with that, rapid growth phase where you need kind of strategic people advice. So we've set it up basically to really solve all the problems that you typically come through going from seed through Series B. As an offer for members, we do a free 30-minute consultation. My details are here at the end. There's a Calendly link there. Just drop a call in. Happy to chat, both as a founder myself and as a lawyer. So we're also giving a workshop on how to negotiate term sheets. There's a lot of conversations there about investment. That's our bread and butter. Been through hundreds of deals, and what we do in that workshop is explain, one, what investors look for and are pushing for, and then on the other side, what founders should be asking for, so that you can go into those negotiations, sophisticated, like knowing what you're doing, knowing that you have got sophisticated advice next to you, and really boss those rounds. So after that workshop, you'll be able to boss your way through those rounds very easily. I think that's everything for me. Looking forward to meeting you guys, and we'll be in the chat rooms as a founder, not as pitching for business.
Yeah.
So look forward to speaking with a few of you.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Bill. So now moving on to the part of the session which I really enjoy this part, which is the opportunity to meet with 8 or 9 other founders. And what we do, this is like a founders roundtable. So we're going to split all of you guys into separate rooms. Everyone here is a founder. So this is the opportunity where we can help each other. All right. So what we do is we've nominated a founder in each room who will just help guide everything and make sure that it's run smoothly. But essentially what we're going to do is you will join, you will get 5 minutes each. We'll go around the table to talk about your startup. So Chieu was saying earlier, like, it's, you have to nail your pitch. And this is a great opportunity, right? You've got about 30 seconds to a minute to tell 10 other founders what your business does. If you can't tell them that in 30 to 60 seconds, then you're doing something wrong. So guys, fellow founders, if the founder there can't articulate, tell them, feedback, tell them how they can improve, because that if they can't tell it to you guys who are friendly other founders, then the VCs aren't gonna wait to work it out. Next, we have 5 minutes each, so I recommend spend a minute up to a minute talking about your startup and explaining what it does. And then a couple of minutes asking for help. Now here I'd suggest asking for advice on your proposition, maybe introductions, or sort of you can talk about partnerships or things that you're looking for. When it comes to fundraising, we all want money. Frankly, you're probably not going to get that far amongst other founders asking for introductions on fundraising. So I would probably stay away from that. You can give it a go, but generally, we can end up in a situation where everyone's asking introductions for fundraisers, and it's not going to get anyone that far. And then we've got a few minutes for feedback. So obviously, this is where everyone in the room or anyone in the room, if you have got a relevant introduction, if you've got some good advice, what I would suggest is if you can unmute yourself and speak in the room. Where we've got leads, maybe they will lead or with some feedback. And just sort of try and help each other with feedback and advice. If you don't get the opportunity to speak, but you could help someone, drop it into the chat. Drop your advice, drop your introduction, and when you finish speaking, go and check the chat and see what other people are doing. Like the whole point of this 1 hour is there is 10 people in here who are business minded, who have set up their own companies. We should be able to help each other to get better by the end of this hour. What we'll do is when you arrive, the leaders of each room will ask you to post your LinkedIn accounts. And I think this is important because when you're doing your 5 minutes, if anyone offers to give you something or to do an introduction, write their name down. And you should already be linked into them. And it's your job to follow up. If someone offers to do something, I offer to help people all the time. Frankly, I'm also really, really busy, and I will sometimes forget to help people because I'm just swamped with stuff. But if you come and remind me, I will follow through. So, and it's the same with a lot of these guys. We're all really, really busy. So it's you, if someone offers to help you, you want to follow that up. So this is meant to be a very practical way of sort of helping each other. Without further ado, we're going to start. Oh, sorry. Yes, good reminder. Daniel and his spread and the PowerPoint control is doing well here. Right. Okay. So before we move into our separate rooms, we're not going to come back to finish off because the rooms will finish at different times. We have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. But I expect that we probably finish a little bit before that. But just to remind you guys, we have a number of events coming up, and we also have the videos for the previous events. We have 10 workshops, which are sort of value-add workshops, everything from GDPR, Brexit, remote working, how to raise investment, how to get PR for your startup, digital marketing, and plenty more. We have pitch competitions in January and February, and we'll be doing these roundtables on a monthly basis, and where we will be inviting other stellar founders like Chieu to come and share some advice. If you've enjoyed this and there's some way that we can help us, that we can help you, reach out to us. My sort of mission here is, if you join our community, we should always put you in a position where you are your startup is doing better than when it joined us. If we have not been able to help you or offer value, then we will always give you your money back. So just come and tell us. It is up to us to help you and make you better. And if we're not doing that, if we're failing that mission, then I don't want your money. Anyway, that's us. I hope you enjoyed our event earlier. And thanks again to Chieu. And now we will split up into our separate rooms. And you should see a pop-up come up shortly. And then you can join the breakout room. Thanks again, guys.